Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist, and today we're going to be doing a Simorgh deck profile. So I'm really excited to do this for you guys because this is a really awesome Wing Beast based deck that actually summons out some very, very large birds. And the really cool thing about this deck is it's actually an extremely budget deck to actually pick up, which is really awesome about this particular build. So without further ado guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon in the description below for all those awesome rewards like getting your name in the description of every single video, getting assigned cards in the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month your patron along with test hands. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're playing two copies of Simorgh, Lord of the Storm. This card is a very good 2-0 in the deck. You really just need to because this card is so searchable. And it has the ability your opponent cannot target this tribute summon card with spell or trap effects, which is a really good effect to be able to just give this card a little bit more protection. It also has the ability that you can only use each of the following effects of this card once per turn. When a spell or trap or effect is activated, quick effect, you contribute a Wind Wing Beast monster, then target one card your opponent controls and shuffle it into the deck. Or when a Wing Beast monster you control is destroyed by battle, while this card is in your graveyard, you can add this card back to your hand. Which is why you just play this card as a 2-of, because you can constantly be recovering this card back from the graveyard. We then play 3 copies of Simorgh of Darkness, which is a fantastic alternative form of Simorgh, Lord of the Storm, and a really good boss monster at that. This card is very easy to summon because while it's face up on the field, this card is also treated as a wind monster, and it also has the ability, if you tribute summon a dark or a wind monster, you can special summon this card from your graveyard if it was there, or from your hand even if it's not, which is a really, really good effect to be able to just immediately follow out a tribute summon with another big bird. It has the ability also that when a spell, trap, or effect is activated, quick effect, you can tribute a wind weakened beast monster, negate the activation of do destroy that card, which is a fantastic effect. We then play one of the old school awesome Dark Simorgh, which is an awesome card in this deck as well, that when this card is face up on the field, it's also treated as a wind monster. And to summon this card, you have to remove from play a dark and a wind monster from your graveyard to special summon this card from your hand. And you remove from play one dark monster and one wind monster from your hand to special summon this card from the graveyard. But the really awesome effect is that your opponent cannot set any cards on the field, which combos very well with anti-spell fragrance, basically making it so that your opponent can only normal summon monsters to their side of the field, which is very insane. This deck can lock your opponent down to that point. This card is very awesome in the deck and really easy to search. We then play 3 copies of Danger Thunderbird. This card helps you out a lot because it is a dark wing beast monster. If you guys are unfamiliar with danger monsters, what this card actually does is you reveal it in your hand, then your opponent randomly chooses a card in your hand and discards that chosen card to the graveyard. If it was not Danger Thunderbird, then you special summon out the Danger Thunderbird and then you draw a card. However, if it was Danger Thunderbird, you get to pop a set card on your opponent's side of the field. But this card is a really good card to summon to your field because it's a big 2800 Wing Beast monster. It can help you out with Link plays, Xyz plays, and even being a dark target to summon out your copy of your Dark Simorgh directly from your hand. We then play 3 copies of Simorgh, Bird of Calamity. This card is also a fantastic card and has the ability that when this card is normal summon, you get to send a Simorgh card from your deck to the graveyard, except another copy of itself. And if this card is in your graveyard, which the majority of your Simorgh monsters that are low level between level 4 and level 1 share this ability, that if this card is in your graveyard and your opponent controls no cards in their spell and trap card zone, you can special summon this card in defense position but banish it when it leaves the field. But you can only special, and you cannot special a monster this turn except for wing beast monsters, which is totally fine because this card is very, very good and really easy to summon to your side of the field and get you basically a really good monster on your side of the field to then use for tribute summoning materials for your other Simorgh monsters. We then play 3 copies of Simorgh, Bird of Bringing. This card is really good in the searcher of the deck because when this card is normal summon, you get to add a Simorgh card from your deck to your hand. It also shares that ability that it can special summon itself back from the graveyard if your opponent doesn't control a spell or trap, which is why anti-spell fragrance is so good in this deck comboed with your Dark Simorgh, because basically it makes it so all of your little birds can special summon themselves out from the graveyard so then you can use them for tribute fodder for the big ones. We then play 3 copies of Simorgh, Bird of Beginning. This card is probably the best in the entire deck outside of your Simorgh, Bird of Bringing for the search ability, because this card has the ability when it's normal summon, you activate the effect that during the main phase, you can normal summon one Simorgh monster in addition to your normal summon or set, which is really good just to give you an additional normal summon. And this card is really, really good in the deck because it does revive itself back from the graveyard. We then play a same copy of Barrier Statue of Stormwinds because the Smorgling monster is famous for actually summoning out your Barrier Statue of Stormwinds. This card is so good to actually special summon this card out to your side of the field because it makes it so neither player can special summon anything but wind monsters. Now that does lock us down a little bit with the dark monsters, but that's totally fine because it's going to hurt the opponent a lot more than us, and this is during our end phase that we're going to summon this card, so we're probably already going to be set up with all of those dark ones anyway, so it's totally fine. We then play 3 copies of Wynn the Wind Charmer. Wynn the Wind Charmer is so good in this deck for searching because she has the ability to discard this card and another wind monster to add a wind monster with 1500 or less defense from your deck to your hand, which quite a few of your birds actually have 1500 or less defense, so this card actually searches a lot of cards in this deck, and it's a really good card to actually send your little birds to the graveyard to then get you searches, which is really helpful for this deck. We then play 3 copies of Ash Blossom to round out the monsters. The 3 copies of Ash Blossom is basically here to be able to stop your opponent from touching the deck and is a fantastic card to be able to just shut down your opponent's turn when they normal summon out a monster that's a searcher, or be able to try and grab cards off of a spell or trap from the deck, or send something from deck to graveyard to start their combos. This card just completely shuts down. It's probably one of the best, if not the best hand trap in the entire game. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to be playing a single copy of Terraforming. Terraforming is really good because you have a really awesome field spell in this deck. We play a single copy of Harpy's Feather Duster because it destroys all those spells and traps, so you can go into your Simorgh monsters from the graveyard, which is really helpful. 1 copy of Foolish Burial because all of your Simorgh monsters that are little, that are level 3 and lower, or level 4 and lower, can actually revive themselves back from the graveyard, which is really helpful. 2 copies of Trade-In because you play a lot of level 8s in this deck, so this card helps out a lot. 3 copies of Simorgh Onslaught. Simorgh Onslaught is a great card. This card is arguably one of the best in archetype searchers in the entire game because you have to discard a Winged Beast monster, which all of your Winged Beasts in this deck, like, it's really good to put them in the graveyard anyways. It has the ability to let you add 2 Simorgh monsters with different attributes from your deck to your hand, and you can banish this card from the graveyard to reveal a Winged Beast monster in your hand. If you do, reduce its level, reduce the level of that monster in your hand by 1 and for the rest of the turn, which is really helpful because if you're trying to normal summon out one of your monsters from your hand, you can reduce it by 1 to then basically give you a level less to summon it out on the field. We then play 3 copies of Elborz. Elborz, the Sacred Land of Simorgh, is a great card in this deck because all Winged Beast monsters gain 300 attack and defense, and you can only use the effect of this card once per turn. That you can reveal level 5 or higher Winged Beast monster in your hand. In this turn, it can be normal summon or set for 1 less tribute, which is really, really good because basically you're going to be able to reveal your level 8s in your hand to then basically normal summon them for 1 tribute, which is very easy to pull off, especially if you have your Simorgh bird at beginning to give you that additional normal summoner set, or if you control at least 2 Winged Beast monsters, you need that Scar Resolves normal summon a Winged Beast monster, which is really cool to be able to just normal summon out a Winged Beast monster if you control a Winged Beast monster on your side of the field, which is really, really good to just give you that additional normal summoner set. So that's it for the spells, guys. Let's get into the traps because the traps are really insane for this deck. So for the traps, we're going to be playing 2 copies of Anti-Spell Fragrance because this card is great in this deck. It basically makes it so that as long as this card remains face on the field, both players have to set any spells to their side of the field, which is really good to be able to set them and then have to activate them the next turn. This card really slows the game down. And with your copy of your Dark Simorgh, this card is just so ridiculously powerful because Dark Simorgh is just going to make it so neither player, or that your opponent can't set cards, and then this card makes it so you have to set spells. So basically it says you can't activate spells. You can't set traps, you can't set the spells, and you can't set monsters because your copy of Dark Simorgh is going to shut that down. So basically they can only normal summon monsters to their side of the field, which is really, really powerful for us and really bad for them because it's going to slow the game down for them. We then play 3 copies of Harpy's Feather Storm, which is really a crazy powerful trap card because if you control a Winged Beast monster, then until the end of this turn, negate any monster effects that your opponent activates. Like any activated effects that they activate are just completely negated. So it can completely shut down your opponent's turn, especially if you combo off and you actually have your copy of your Harpy's Featherstorm on your side of the field, your copy of your Dark Simorgh, and a copy of Anti-Spell Fragrance. You're essentially going to turn your opponent's entire turn off because they can't get monster effects. They can't set their, they can't even set the spells or traps because you have Dark Simorgh on the field, and they can't even, all they can do is normal summon. That's all they can do is normal summon, and it turns it into basically 2002 Yu-Gi-Oh, which is hilarious because they just can't do anything. And this card literally has no downside because it can actually search your copy of your Harpy's Feather Duster, because it has the ability that if you have this card on your side of the field in zone control is destroyed by your opponent's card effect, you can add a Harpy's Feather Duster from your deck or graveyard to your hand. This card can make it so you can use Harpy's Feather Duster over and over again as well, which is ridiculously powerful as well. This card is an insanely powerful card in any Wing Beast deck that's a Wing Beast deck. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, I'm playing 2 copies of Simorgh, Bird of Sovereignty. The reason I play 2 copies of this card is because it's a really powerful card in this deck and very easy to actually summon because it has some really great effects that basically this card during the end phase, you can special summon out a Wind Wing Beast monster from your deck to your side of the field that is equal to the level or lower to the level of the current unused spell or trap card zone. So for example, if I have 5 that are currently unused and you have 5, I could special summon out a I could summon out a Wing Beast card from my deck that is a level 10, which is really great. Usually we're looking for the 4 mark because we're trying to summon out the copy of the barrier statue to just basically shut down the game. But also this card cannot be used as link material, and your opponent cannot target this card or a Wind Wing Beast monster or any Wing Beast monster this card points to with card effects. And this card would be destroy battle. You can destroy once more card you control instead, which is pretty good just to be able to basically divert the destruction away from this card. We then play a single copy of Appaloosa because it's going to give us additional negations, and it's really good to be able to summon. It's very easy to summon in this deck as well. 1 copy of Access Code Talker. This card can be easily changed out for a copy of Boral Load or Boral Sword if you're trying to make this deck a little bit more budget. This card can totally be changed out. You don't have to play your copy of Access Code, but if you do, this card is really good because it's going to give you additional pops on the field and make a really big monster. 1 copy of Doom Eagle. Doom Eagle is pretty good in this deck too because it gains 2400 attack while your opponent has no monsters in their graveyard. And quick effect, you can target a monster in your opponent's graveyard and shuffle it into the deck, which can be really powerful to be able to get rid of key combo pieces that your opponent's then going to have to research and resend to the graveyard. We then play a single copy of Nightmare Unicorn because it's going to spin stuff. 1 copy of Phoenix because it can pop spells or traps. 1 copy of Cerberus because it can pop monsters. A single copy of Greatfly because it boosts the attack of wind monsters, which is really good in decks like this because it's just going to give you that added bonus that's going to be able to help you OTK your opponent. 1 copy of IP Masquerena because it's going to be able to link summon during your opponent's turn. This is another card you don't have to play, that you can play another Greatfly in this position if you're looking to make this deck a little bit more budget, because I know IP is around $20 or $30 last time I looked at it. So you can actually change this out if you want for a Greatfly to make it a little bit more budget, but I do recommend if you do have the IP, it does help out a lot to go into your copy of your IP to go to Unicorn during your opponent's turn to spin stuff. 1 copy of Alamirage. Alamirage is really helpful in this deck because basically you're going to be able to normal summon a Simorgh monster to your side of the field, and then if it had 1000 attack or less, you can link it away to summon this. 1 copy of Link Reba because you do play level 1s in this deck, so this card's really helpful. And then we play a couple of rank 8s, which is a single copy of Dragonbolon, which you can detach 2 materials from this and either summon to your side of the field a number 38 or summon a number 100 and use the other one as a material. This gives us additional spell and trap card or spell shard negation, and this card gives us a 9000 beat stick. So this is a really good play to actually play these. If you don't want to play these and you're looking for more budget options for this deck, you can change them out for any other rank 8 card. You can play a small Galaxy Eyes engine if you want to give you additional pops. You can change it out for Dingirsu, which is another card that you could summon in this position, or you could change it out for any link monster that you want to, like a Blockade Board Blocker, a copy of another Greatfly, and a copy of Dingirsu if you want to make the deck even more budget. So that's it for the deck, guys. This is a really awesome budget Wing Beast deck. It's very fun to be able to play around with, and it's very easy to pick up too. The main deck costs maybe like $10 to pick up the core of your Simorgh deck, and it's a really fun deck to actually play around with. You guys have seen this a lot in live duels, and it's just a really fun deck. I really like playing around with Simorgh and hope to do stuff with this deck in the coming videos. So anyways, guys, this is DarkArmedDuelist. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell on there so you can become part of the notification squad, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.